Sisters united will never be defeated. Sisters united will never be defeated. Sisters united will never be defeated.
So, as some of you may know, that Apna Haq supports black and ethnic minority women around domestic violence. We had our funding taken away by the local authority, which has left our future in a bit of a precarious situation. The majority of black and ethnic minority women do not engage with different services. So unless we have services like Apna Haq, women will not come out, they will not seek help, and so rates of depression, mental health, suicide and murder will go up.
What do we want? What do we want? Apna Haq! Zindabad! You can't silence us! We will rise!
Good afternoon, people. Black women, children, friends, allies. Thank you for making your way here to take a stand against oppression, a stand against patriarchy, a stand against racism, against class discrimination, against inequality and victimization. I cry because I'm tired, and many of us are tired. I cry because we keep asking them to listen and they continue to ignore us, or they use our words against us. I cry because we've already lost so much, and so often it feels like we have barely nothing left. So why would they take it away? Why would they take Apna Haq away? I cried because we lost Roshni Nottingham, and I cried because I said not another one of us. They will not take Apna Haq away from us. So through the tears I stand here to say nothing about us without us.
By having that rally and that march, it was making a political statement basically that we do have a voice and we do have rights, and we're going to make a noise, a big fuss, and not go quietly. It's because what we're saying is that as black and ethnic minority women, it's only other black and ethnic minority women that understand what our issues are and can provide the services that we need to keep us safe.
We set up Apna Haq, we went from strength to strength, we survived like any other voluntary organisation does, one funding stream to another, and from year on, we supported on average 900 women and their children.
So I think today we're angry, and we're angry because the government has not been listening to us. We have tried, many of us, many organisations, INCAN, Southall Black Sisters and many other women's groups have gone to the Home Office, have gone to the government again and again, have highlighted the plight of services for black and minority women, and we warned them and we said them that unless you gave some central government funding and unless you made local commissioners provide services and fund black and minority women's organisations, that those services were going to disappear. The court is a way of holding the government accountable, but so is campaigning, so is sisterhood, so is alliance building, so is today. Okay, we should actually go outside 10 Downing Street and say, shame on you, Cameron.
Shame on you!
Being someone who's moved to the UK and you know, that march from Trafalgar Square to Whitehall, it is really significant for a lot of us who come to this country because we see it on television and we see those images outside Whitehall, outside Downing Street, and you don't, I think a lot of us never think that that's going to be us, and I could see that on the faces of some of the really small children who were there that day. Wow, I came here to do this thing. I stood outside Downing Street and said what I wanted to say, and there were all these 200 people behind me who supported it as well. And there's something as well in that about reclaiming our activism as black organisations. We're not just service providers, we're here to create social change, we're here to draw attention to these issues, and we're not going to stop just because you take the money away.
I'm going to ask all the stewards to come up in the front here so that everybody knows who the stewards are.
You're a star. Thank you so much. Organisations for black women and for minoritised women was set up because we needed a place to go, a place of safety, a place where we could speak, a place where our voices could be heard. Organisations like Apna Haq were set up without an obsession with money and funding. This has always been about the work, this has always been about our voice, our safety and our lives. And before there was funding available, most white-led organisations have no interest in providing specialist services for us. They just did not care.
Kind of hearing them talk about their issues, it became really clear that there was so much these women had to say, and they hadn't, through all this stuff with Rotherham Council, a lot of that was being really suppressed, and it was you could really feel this kind of anger, but also a real passion in the service that they were offering, but also the community that they created.
The government and policy responses to the events in Paris will affect many of us, in that our communities will be subject to even more policing. But the women in Rotherham are already feeling what a racist Islamophobic backlash is like. And Apna Haq is needed because it provides a place of safety. So to the politicians, as you contemplate your cuts, remember that we never started out on a level playing field. We've already been cut. We have already suffered disproportionately from the so-called austerity measures. Just leave us, let's get on with our work. When they tell you this is not about racism, they're lying. When they tell you this is not about being women and about their patriarchy, they're lying. When they tell you this is not about class, they're lying. When they tell you this is not about disability, they're lying. When they say it's not about oppression and equality generally, they are lying. It is about all of the above. We reserve the right to define our own solution. So we say to the politicians, save Apna Haq. Rotherham City Council, yo, shame on you! Shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
As black women, we know what our rights are, and we're going to make a noise, a big fuss, and not go quietly. And the important sort of element is that, as well as the petition that we handed in, there was the excellent report that Apna put together about the state of the sector. And that basically showed you in writing about how what was happening to Apna Haq has happened to other women's organisations and will happen to other black women's organisations. And it's the demands that we were making from the government. So it was appropriate to hold it in London.
This, but I've got one of these.
To David Cameron today to say enough is enough, we will take no more. You cannot take our services away from us. While they're handing in that petition, it's really important we keep the noise up so that people hear us. We are here because we will not take any more.
Because I was a little bit like, oh, you know, how much energy should we put into a march? Is it going to change anything? I think it did, for one. It got a lot of attention. It really drew, kind of captured something in people's imagination. But I think for the people who came that day from Rotherham, it really showed them they weren't alone. It showed that people really care. And as much as there is an increasingly kind of racist environment that they're living in and a really oppressive state, there's acts of resistance all around the place, and it was an opportunity to bring that together.
Almost 1 in 3 facing domestic violence in their lifetime, and our government responds to these facts by closing women's services and refuges, and what's more, racistly decimating those services run for and by women of colour. Today we say no more. I've heard people suggest that black and minority services are self-segregating. Why can't a black woman go to a mainstream service? To which I answer, for a woman to leave an abusive relationship and all she knows behind, she needs the confidence to know that the people who will support her will hear her.
That's right!
She needs to have the confidence to know they will believe her and make efforts to understand her and her context. And that means her race, her faith if she has one, her culture and community. The black women who run services like Apna Haq know intimately what they're up against, an institutionally racist state. To our good friends the police, who even today criminalise and dog our own community. To social services who deem us unfit to take care of our own children. These women know how narratives of honour and shame play out between the legs of brown women and how to address them. They speak the languages and know the particular barriers faced by their service users. In our current climate of heightened racism, xenophobia and Islamophobia, particularly in the context of Rotherham, places like Apna Haq are often the only places for women of colour to turn.
When specialist services run by women of colour, for women of colour, are destroyed by austerity, the result is simple. Women of colour died. आगे जाके हम सपोर्ट नहीं करेंगे तो हम लोगों की लाइफ 0 पॉइंट पे जहाँ से हम लोगों ने स्टार्ट की थी वहीं पे चले जाएंगे क्योंकि हम लोगों में कॉन्फिडेंस ही नहीं रहेगा. आज जो यहाँ स्पीक कर रहे हैं तो इन लोगों के कॉन्फिडेंस ही होगा. I don't know what I said now. Okay. As we know, the cuts agenda, the cuts crisis is brutal. Violence against women's services, black and minority ethnic refugee communities are actually proud of their independence. Sexual violence services and organisations with really small budgets, particularly BME services, they were being further cut. This is not a luxury, this is not an add-on, this is a basic human right. Together we are strong, together we will rise.
Together we are strong, together we will rise. Together we are strong, together we will rise.
Our her stories of resistance have taken numerous routes through beautiful scribes, speaking tongues, artistry, music and literature, to feel in the ground as we dance and march, and let our voices and bodies continue to echo and echo and echo.